If you follow women's basketball at all, you already know this is a headline everyone's circling right now. Angel Reese is back in Unrivaled, right in the middle of the season. And it isn't just another roster move. This is a kind of return that can flip a league's momentum, reshape a championship race, and light up social media all at once. The noise started midweek, when Legion Hoops dropped the first report that Reese was set to rejoin the 3-on-3 Unrivaled League after skipping the opening month of the 2026 campaign. For a few hours, it felt like classic rumor mill material, but it didn't stay that way for long. Not long after, Unrivaled made it official. The 2025 Defensive Player of the Year was signed, cleared, and locked in play the rest of the season. Her comeback is not some vague soon either. The date is set. Angel Reese's first game back is scheduled for February 20th against High BC. That matchup will be her first appearance in Unrivaled competition since the league's one-on-one tournament, where she last took the floor before stepping away. So you've got a returning star, a fixed debut date, and a clear opponent. That alone would have been enough to turn heads. But what makes this even bigger is the situation inside Unrivaled's most high-profile team, Rose BC. Rose BC came into the season as defending champions, the team with a target on its back. On paper, they were built to control the glass, set the tone physically, and make another deep run. That entire identity was tied heavily to Angel Reese. When she didn't start the 2026 season with them, it wasn't just losing a starter, it was losing the anchor of their entire style. The results have made that painfully obvious. Without Reese, Rose BC have looked human. They've dropped 3 of their last 5 games and slid down to 5th in the standings. For a reigning champion, that's a real slip. What should have been a steady title defense has felt shaky, stop-start, and inconsistent, and a lot of that traces directly back to the hole she left on the interior. If you look at last season, the numbers tell the story. Reese was putting up around 13.3 points and close to 12 rebounds per game in Unrivaled action. Those are huge figures in any format, but in a 3-on-3 league, that kind of rebounding dominance is borderline unfair. Rose BC weren't just good on the glass. They were one of the best rebounding teams in the entire competition. Every missed shot had a real chance of turning into a second opportunity because Angel was there, sealing, tipping, and ripping the ball down. This year, without her, that edge vanished. Instead of living at the top of the rebounding charts, Rose BC slid into the middle of the pack. In a normal 5-on-5 league, that's not necessarily fatal. But in Unrivaled, with the pace, the spacing, and the shorter format, extra possessions are everything. When you stop dominating the boards, you suddenly look a lot more vulnerable, and that's exactly what happened. So when you hear that Angel Reese is back, it's not just about a familiar face returning. It's a direct answer to the one glaring weakness that's been haunting Rose BC all season. Her presence isn't symbolic, it's structural. She fixes something that numbers and film both scream has been missing. It's also important to remember what kind of defender we're talking about. Reese didn't accidentally become Unrivaled's Defensive Player of the Year in 2025. She earned that award by doing the dirty work every possession. Contesting shots, switching on the guards when needed, cleaning the glass, and giving Rose BC a physical identity. In a league that rewards skill and space, she brought muscle and edge, and that combination is why she stood out. When she suits up on February 20th against High BC, all eyes are going to be on how quickly she can reconnect with her Rose BC teammates and how dramatically she changes their look. You can expect the tempo to shift. Missed shots from Rose BC are less likely to be one and done. Opponents will think twice before driving straight into the lane. The guard will probably look more confident pulling up, knowing there's someone behind them to mop up the misses. That's the basketball side. Then there's the other half of this equation, the spotlight. Angel Reese doesn't just log rebounds and points. She brings cameras with her. She's polarizing, she's loud, she's competitive, and she's one of the few women's basketball players right now who can move the needle by herself. You could see it the moment her return was reported. Social media feeds split instantly. On one side, you had people celebrating. There were fans pointing out that Unrivaled needed exactly this kind of jolt. Interest had cooled a bit early in the 2026 season. Ratings were not where the league wanted them. For a new competition, try and build a lasting fan base and TV audience. That's worrying. Bringing back someone with Angel Reese's profile is a direct response to that. Her following, built through her college dominance and her transition into the WNBA, gives Unrivaled a marketing hook most leagues would kill for. A lot of people were basically saying the same thing in their own words. Unrivaled needed a star to get casual viewers to care again, and Reese is that star. They expect her return to bump viewership, generate clips, and get more people talking about the league. And to be fair, they're probably right. If you watch how coverage spikes every time her name is involved in anything, you know how strong her pull is. On the other side, there were plenty of voices rolling their eyes or bracing for drama. Some focused on her intensity and the way she plays with a chip on her shoulder. That edge is a big part of what makes her effective, but it also leads to technicals, trash talk, and those viral love it or hate it moments. You could see fans half joking, half serious, predicting that Unrivaled's ratings would jump, but so would the number of whistles for unsportsmanlike behavior. Her WNBA history feeds into that perception. She's already experienced suspension for comments that were labeled detrimental to the team, and that incident painted a picture for some people. Someone who's not going to play the quiet, compliant role. For supporters, that's the appeal. For critics, it's more ammunition. As soon as news of her return broke, those past moments were dragged back into the conversation. Then you've got a third group that's just skeptical of Unrivaled as a product, regardless of who plays in it. You see people saying they don't really care about the league, or that adding a star name doesn't automatically guarantee they'll tune in. That's real too. Not every basketball fan is fully sold on a 3-on-3 off-season format, no matter who's on the court. But here's the thing. Whether you're excited, annoyed, indifferent, or somewhere in between, you're still reacting. You're talking about it. You're clicking clips. You're checking the schedule. You're waiting to see that first game back. That's exactly why Angel Reese is so important to a league like Unrivaled. Her presence creates conversation. And in 2026, conversation is currency. From a pure hoop standpoint, there's no denying what she offers Rose BC. They have already won a championship with her as a central piece. Her rebounding, her defensive motor, her ability to finish plays around the rim. All of it helped build last season's title run. Coaches love players who consistently tilt the possession battle in their favor, and that's what she does. But it goes beyond the numbers. When she's on the floor, the energy of a game changes. Teammates feed off her emotion. Opponents either get rattled or raise their own intensity to match. Crowds stay engaged because every single possession feels like it has a little extra charge. That's what Unrivaled needs as it tries to grow. Games that feel alive, not just games that happen. For Rose BC, the timing is almost perfect. They've had just enough of the season without her to understand exactly where the holes are, and their current position in the standings adds urgency. Fifth place is not a disaster, but for a defending champion, it's uncomfortable. Bringing her back now gives them a runway to climb, steady the ship, and enter the playoff phase looking a lot more like the dominant group we saw in 2025. For Angel, there's pressure too. Anytime you step back into a league as a reigning Defensive Player of the Year and a former champion, you're not just another signing. The expectation is that you are the solution. If Rose BC suddenly become impossible to beat again, it reinforces everything people have been saying about her impact. If they continue to stumble, or if chemistry takes time to click, the scrutiny lands on her just as fast as the praise. That's the reality for modern women's basketball stars. The growth of the game has brought more money, more coverage, and more opportunity. But it's also brought a different level of responsibility. In a league like Unrivaled, which is still in that crucial early stretch where it has to prove it belongs long-term, individual stars carry a huge amount of weight. They're not just players. They're test cases for whether the model works. When Angel Reese comes back and people immediately start debating ratings, social media buzz, and league relevance, it shows exactly how central she is to that experiment. She's not the only reason Unrivaled will succeed or fail, but she's one of the clearest indicators of where it stands. If her games draw viewers, if highlight pages are flooded with her clips again, if casual fans start talking about Rose BC's matches, the league benefits across the board. For those of us who actually watch the basketball, the February 20th game against High BC is going to say a lot. We'll see if her timing is there, how her conditioning looks, how quickly she gets back into Unrivaled rhythm after being away. We'll see how Rose BC uses her. Do they immediately run everything through her on the boards and the paint, or do they ease her in? We'll see how Hyde BC game plans for her, whether they send help on the glass or test her laterally on switches. But even before that ball goes up, one thing is already obvious. This move has pushed Unrivaled back into the larger basketball conversation. A mid-season return in a niche league doesn't usually make waves beyond hardcore fans. Angel Reese's return is everyone talking. WNBA fans, college hoops followers, casual viewers who saw her highlights from years past. That's why her presence matters so much to a young league. Beyond the box scores and awards, she brings energy, headlines, and attention, all the raw materials any new competition needs if it wants to grow instead of fade away. You can love her game, you can hate her attitude, you can dismiss the league she's playing in, but you can't pretend she doesn't move the needle. In the end, that's what this comeback is really about. Not just a forward rejoining her team, but a star stepping back into a spotlight that, like it or not, gets brighter every time her name is involved. Angel Reese is back and Unrivaled. Rose BC just got their backbone returned, and the rest of the league is going to have to adjust. Whether you're tuning in to cheer, to critique, or just to see what happens, you'll be watching. And that alone shows how powerful her impact on today's women's game really is.